Thanksgiving at Grandma Eleanor's farmhouse had always been loud, warm, and exhausting in equal measure. The smell of roasted turkey drifted through every room, while cousins ran through the halls with sticky fingers and footballs. Nobody was supposed to throw inside. The adults laughed too loudly, pretending old arguments had disappeared with age. Olivia stood near the kitchen doorway, balancing a bowl of mashed potatoes while watching her 10-year-old son, Noah, sit quietly at the far end of the dining room. He always sat quietly at family gatherings, not because he was shy, because years of being ignored had taught him not to interrupt people who didn't really want him there. Liv put those on the table. Her mother called sharply without even looking at her, and make sure Noah doesn't spill anything this year. Olivia swallowed the irritation rising in her throat. Okay, Mom. Across the room, her older sister Claire laughed while showing off diamond earrings her husband had apparently bought her in Paris. Claire's 2 children, Emma and Lucas, were already tearing into early Christmas presents their grandparents had brought out just for fun. Emma squealed when she opened the newest iPhone. Lucas nearly tackled his grandfather after receiving an expensive gaming console. Oh my goodness, look how happy they are, Olivia's mother said proudly, snapping photos. These moments are priceless. Olivia forced a smile. No one noticed Noah sitting silently with a paper cup of apple cider in his hands. Or maybe they noticed and simply didn't care. It had been this way ever since Olivia's husband, Daniel, died 4 years earlier. The funeral had barely ended before her parents began treating her like a burden instead of a daughter. Claire had the successful husband, the beautiful house, the polished life. Olivia had hospital bills, grief, and a child struggling to understand why his father never came home. Claire liked to call it bad choices, as if falling in love with a schoolteacher instead of a wealthy businessman had ruined the family reputation. Dinner finally began, and Grandma Eleanor sat quietly at the head of the table, watching everyone with careful eyes. Unlike the others, she noticed everything. She noticed Noah waiting until everyone else served themselves before taking food. She noticed Olivia pretending not to hear the little comments. Claire's kids are so confident. Claire really raised them properly. Lucas is going to be successful someday. Every compliment aimed at Claire somehow became an insult aimed at Olivia. Halfway through dessert, Olivia's father clapped his hands together loudly. Time for gifts. The grandchildren erupted with excitement. Olivia immediately felt her stomach tighten. Her parents did this every year, turning Thanksgiving into an early Christmas spectacle designed mostly to impress Claire's family. Brightly wrapped boxes appeared from the living room. Emma received a gold bracelet. Lucas got an envelope containing tickets to Disney World. Even Claire's toddler received a silver necklace with her initials engraved on it. The room glowed with excitement and camera flashes. Then Olivia noticed something strange. Only one gift remained near the fireplace, a tiny plain white box. No ribbon, no name tag. Her father picked it up casually, and this one is for Noah. The room suddenly became quieter. Noah blinked in surprise before walking carefully toward his grandfather. Olivia saw hope flicker across his face, fragile and heartbreaking. He took the box gently. It's okay, buddy, Olivia whispered softly. Open it. Noah smiled nervously and lifted the lid. Empty at first, he looked confused. Then he noticed the folded piece of paper inside. Small hands unfolded it carefully. His smile disappeared. What does it say? Claire asked, already smirking. Noah's voice trembled slightly as he read aloud. Some gifts must be earned. Silence crashed across the dining room. Olivia felt heat rush into her chest, so fast she could barely breathe. What kind of joke is this? She asked quietly. Her father shrugged. Oh, come on, it's motivational. Claire laughed into her wineglass. Dad means Noah should learn responsibility. Kids today expect handouts. He's 10, Olivia snapped. Her mother rolled her eyes immediately. Don't start drama on Thanksgiving. Drama, as if humiliating a child in front of the entire family was normal. Olivia looked at Noah. That hurt more than anything. He wasn't crying. He was trying not to cry, trying to be strong enough not to embarrass his mother. It's okay, Noah whispered quickly, forcing a tiny smile. I don't really need anything. Something inside Olivia broke. Years of insults, years of pity, years of pretending she didn't notice the difference between how Claire's children were treated and how Noah was treated. All of it crashed down at once. She stood abruptly from the table. No, she said firmly, it's not okay. Everyone stared at her. For years, I've stayed quiet because I didn't want conflict. But humiliating my son to entertain yourselves. Her voice shook with anger. You should be ashamed. Her mother crossed her arms. Olivia, you're overreacting. Am I? Olivia asked. Because from where I'm standing, my child was the only grandchild handed an empty box tonight. Nobody answered. Even Claire looked uncomfortable now. Only Grandma Eleanor remained calm. She slowly placed her napkin beside her plate and stood up. Olivia, she said gently, before you leave tonight, I'd like a word with you privately. Something in her tone made the room still. And for the first time all evening, Olivia noticed Grandma Eleanor looking not at Claire, but directly at Noah. The drive home was painfully quiet. Rain tapped softly against the windshield, while Noah stared out the passenger window, clutching the empty white box in his lap. Olivia's hands tightened around the steering wheel every few minutes, as anger and heartbreak twisted inside her chest. She could still hear Claire laughing. Some kids need motivation. The memory made Olivia sick. Beside Noah's feet sat the envelope Grandma Eleanor had slipped into Olivia's hands just before they left the farmhouse. Don't open it there. Grandma had whispered quietly. Open it where nobody can interrupt you. At the time, Olivia barely understood what she meant. Now the thick envelope rested on the kitchen counter of their tiny apartment, while Noah changed into pajamas down the hall. Olivia stared at it for several seconds, fear mixed strangely with curiosity. Finally, she opened it. Inside were several folded documents, old photographs, and a sealed handwritten letter with her name, written across the front in Grandma Eleanor's elegant cursive. Olivia slowly unfolded the letter. Her dear Olivia, if you are reading this, then Thanksgiving unfolded exactly as I feared it would. First, I need you to know something very important. None of what happened tonight was Noah's fault. And it was never your fault either. For years, I have watched this family punish you simply because your life did not turn out as wealthy or polished as Claire's. After Daniel died, they should have loved you more. Instead, they treated your grief like failure. Olivia's vision blurred instantly. She sat down heavily at the kitchen table and kept reading. Your parents believe success can only be measured in money, appearances, and status. Claire learned that lesson from them very well. But Noah reminds me of the people this family used to be before greed hollowed them out. Kind, humble, honest. That is why I made certain decisions long ago. Olivia's heartbeat quickened. Beneath the letter sat several legal papers stamped with official seals. Trust documents, property records, bank statements. She scanned the pages in confusion until one line made her breath catch completely. Beneficiary, Noah Carter, what? Her hands trembled as she flipped through the documents faster. Grandma Eleanor had secretly created a trust fund for Noah nearly 6 years earlier. The amount listed inside made Olivia cover her mouth in shock. It wasn't just savings. It included ownership shares in Eleanor's antique business, farmland outside town, and investment accounts that had quietly grown for years. The total value was enormous, far beyond anything Claire or Olivia's parents would ever expect. Olivia stared at the pages, unable to process what she was seeing. A second folded note slipped from the envelope onto the floor. She picked it up carefully. Your parents believe Claire and her children will inherit everything after I pass. I allowed them to believe that because revealing the truth too early would have created exactly the kind of ugliness you witnessed tonight. But there is more you should know. 3 years ago, your father secretly borrowed against part of the family property to help Claire and her husband cover business debts. They never told anyone, not even me, until after the papers were signed. I warned them not to confuse favoritism with love. They did not listen. Olivia leaned back in stunned silence. All these years, her parents had acted like helping Olivia was impossible, while quietly rescuing Claire financially behind closed doors. Footsteps padded softly into the kitchen. Noah stood there rubbing his tired eyes. Mom. Olivia quickly wiped her tears. Hey, sweetheart, why aren't you asleep? He looked down at the empty white box still in his hands. Did Grandpa mean what he said? Olivia's chest tightened painfully. No, that I have to earn gifts, he asked quietly. Because I tried really hard to be good this year. The innocence in his voice shattered something inside her completely. She pulled him into her arms immediately. Oh, baby, listen to me carefully. Her voice cracked. You never have to earn love from the people who are supposed to love you already. Noah stayed silent against her shoulder. After a moment, he whispered, Then why do they like the others more? Olivia had no answer that wouldn't destroy him further. Instead, she kissed the top of his head and held him tighter. From the table, Grandma Eleanor's letter remained open beneath the kitchen light. There was still one final paragraph Olivia hadn't read yet. After Noah finally returned to bed, she unfolded the last page carefully. At Christmas, I intend to correct many years of silence. Your parents, Claire, and the rest of this family have mistaken your quietness for weakness. I suspect they have also mistaken Noah's kindness for insignificance. Bring him to Christmas dinner, and let them discover what your empty gift truly cost them. Grandma Eleanor Olivia slowly lowered the letter. For the first time in years, she felt something unfamiliar rising beneath the hurt. Not bitterness, not sadness, strength. Across the apartment, Noah's empty white box still sat on the kitchen counter. But suddenly, it no longer looked empty at all. Christmas arrived beneath a sky heavy with snow. Grandma Eleanor's farmhouse looked almost magical from the outside, glowing with warm golden lights and decorated wreaths. But Olivia knew better than to trust appearances. This house held years of buried resentment beneath its polished holiday traditions. As she parked the car, Noah looked nervously toward the front door. Do we have to stay long? He asked softly. Olivia reached over and squeezed his hand. We stay as long as we want to. That answer surprised even her. A month earlier, she would have entered this house apologizing for existing. Tonight felt different. She wore a dark green dress she hadn't touched in years. And for the first time since Daniel's death, her shoulders weren't curled inward with shame. Inside, the family gathering was already loud. Claire stood near the fireplace in an expensive white sweater, laughing dramatically while showing relatives photos from a luxury ski trip. Olivia's mother rushed forward the second she noticed them. You're late, she said immediately. Then her eyes swept over Olivia critically. Well, you certainly dressed up tonight. Merry Christmas to you too, Mom, Olivia replied calmly. The older woman blinked, clearly thrown off by the confidence in her tone. Across the room, Claire noticed Noah. "Well, look who came back after Thanksgiving," she said lightly before sipping wine. "No hard feelings, right, buddy?" Noah lowered his eyes. Olivia stepped between them before he could answer. "Actually," she said evenly, "there were hard feelings." The room quieted slightly. Claire gave an awkward laugh. "Oh, please, are we still doing this?" Before Olivia could respond, Grandma Eleanor's voice cut across the room. "Yes," she said firmly, "we are." Everyone turned. Grandma stood slowly from her chair near the Christmas tree, holding several folders in her hands. Though her silver hair and soft cardigan made her appear fragile, the sharpness in her eyes commanded instant silence. "Dinner can wait," she announced. "There are things this family needs to hear first." Olivia's father frowned immediately. "Mother, this isn't the time." "It is exactly the time." Something in her voice made even him step back. Grandma Eleanor motioned toward Noah. "Come sit beside me, sweetheart." Noah hesitated before walking carefully to her side. Grandma rested one gentle hand over his. "At Thanksgiving," she began quietly, "everyone in this room watched a child receive humiliation instead of love." Olivia's mother crossed her arms. "Oh, for heaven's sake, it was a joke." "No," Grandma replied sharply. "It was cruelty disguised as a joke." The room fell completely silent. Claire shifted uncomfortably. "Grandma, you're making this dramatic." "Am I?" Grandma asked. "Because I seem to remember nobody laughing when your father secretly paid off your husband's business debts." Claire's face drained of color instantly. Olivia's father stood up abruptly. "Mother," but Grandma ignored him. "For years, this family has rewarded selfishness while punishing kindness." She continued. "Olivia was treated like a disappointment because life wounded her instead of enriching her." Olivia felt tears sting her eyes. Nobody had ever defended her like this before. Grandma slowly opened one of the folders. "So today I will correct my mistake." Claire looked suddenly nervous. "What mistake?" "Allowing all of you to believe my silence meant approval." The words hit the room like shattered glass. Grandma pulled out official documents and handed them directly to Noah. "These belong to you." Noah looked confused as Olivia carefully took the papers from his hands. Then her breath caught. Trust ownership confirmation, land transfer documents, business shares. The room erupted instantly. "What is this?" Claire demanded. Olivia's mother grabbed the papers and scanned them wildly. Noah inherited the antique property. Part of it. Grandma corrected calmly. "Along with the investment accounts I established years ago." "You left him the inheritance," Claire nearly shouted. "I left it to the grandchild who understands gratitude." Claire looked genuinely furious now. "This is insane. My children are your family too." "They are," Grandma replied. "But unlike Noah, your children were never taught compassion, only entitlement." Olivia's father slammed his hand against the table. "You manipulated this whole situation." Grandma's expression hardened. "No, you manipulated this family." She opened another folder. "And if you'd like, I can also explain to everyone how you mortgaged family land behind my back to rescue Claire's husband from bankruptcy." The room exploded into overlapping voices. Claire's husband went pale. "You said nobody knew about that." Claire whispered harshly to her father. Olivia stared in disbelief as years of perfect family illusions cracked apart in seconds. Her mother suddenly pointed angrily at Olivia. "You planned this?" Olivia looked up slowly. "No," she said quietly. "I just stopped protecting people who never protected my son." The room went still again. She looked directly at her parents for the first time without fear. "After Daniel died, I needed my family," she said, her voice trembling. "Instead, you treated me like I embarrassed you, and somehow Noah paid the price for it too." Her mother opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out. Beside Grandma Eleanor, Noah quietly reached for Olivia's hand. She held it tightly, And in that moment, surrounded by broken lies and shattered pride, Olivia realized something important. The family she spent years begging acceptance from was finally collapsing, but she and Noah were finally free. The weeks after Christmas fractured the family completely. Relatives who once admired Claire's perfect life suddenly stopped calling as rumors spread about the hidden debts and secret loans. Olivia's parents tried desperately to defend themselves, but Grandma Eleanor had already shown enough proof to silence most arguments. For the first time in years, Olivia no longer felt like the family scapegoat, and Claire hated it. "You turned Grandma against us," Claire hissed during a furious phone call days after Christmas. Olivia stood by the apartment window, watching snow fall across the parking lot, while Noah worked on homework nearby. "No," Olivia answered calmly, "you did that yourselves." Claire laughed bitterly. "Enjoy the money while it lasts." Then she hung up. But it was never really about the money. That was the strange part. The trust fund changed Olivia and Noah's future financially, yes. Bills no longer felt terrifying. Noah's college someday seemed possible. The constant fear that had lived inside Olivia since Daniel's death slowly loosened its grip. But Grandma Eleanor's real gift was something far more valuable. She had finally spoken the truth out loud, and truth changes people, especially children. One evening in early spring, Olivia found Noah sitting quietly at the kitchen table, staring at the tiny white Thanksgiving box again. The same empty box. She walked over carefully. "What are you thinking about?" Noah traced his finger along the edge of the lid. For a long time, he admitted softly, "I thought Grandpa gave me this because I wasn't good enough." Olivia's heart ached. "Oh, sweetheart, but now I think maybe it showed who they really were instead." She stared at him in surprise. At only 10 years old, Noah understood something many adults never did. Cruelty always reveals more about the person giving it than the person receiving it. A few months later, Grandma Eleanor officially moved out of the farmhouse and invited Olivia and Noah to live there with her. The old property needed repairs. The antique shop attached to the barn had been closed for nearly 2 years, its shelves dusty and forgotten. But Noah immediately fell in love with the place, especially the workshop. Grandma Eleanor taught him how to restore old furniture by hand, carefully sanding damaged wood while telling stories about the family's past. Olivia often watched them together from the doorway, smiling in ways she hadn't smiled in years. The farmhouse slowly transformed too. Fresh paint covered faded walls. Music returned to the kitchen. Laughter returned to dinner tables. People from town began visiting the antique store again, after hearing it reopened under new management. Olivia discovered she actually loved helping customers find hidden treasures among forgotten things. It felt strangely symbolic. Broken things could still become beautiful. One afternoon, while organizing old records in the attic, Olivia found a faded photograph tucked inside a wooden drawer. It showed her as a little girl, sitting beside Grandma Eleanor, in the exact same workshop where Noah now spent his afternoons. On the back, Grandma had written, "You were never difficult to love." Olivia cried harder than she had in years. Not because of sadness, because after carrying rejection for so long, kindness felt almost unbearable. By autumn, Grandma Eleanor's health had started failing quietly. She tired more easily, sometimes forgetting small things before smiling them away. One chilly November evening, she called Noah into her bedroom alone. When he returned nearly an hour later, he carried a small wooden keepsake box carefully against his chest. "What's that?" Olivia asked gently. Noah smiled softly. "Grandma says it's my real gift." Later that night, after Grandma fell asleep, Noah finally opened it. Inside were old family photographs, handwritten letters, Daniel's wedding watch Olivia thought had been lost forever, and one final note written in Grandma Eleanor's delicate handwriting. Noah read it aloud quietly. Never measure your worth by what people give you. Measure it by who stands beside you when your hands are empty. Olivia covered her mouth as tears filled her eyes again. Grandma Eleanor passed away peacefully 3 weeks later, with Olivia holding one hand and Noah holding the other. The following Thanksgiving felt very different from the painful one a year earlier. The farmhouse filled once again with voices and warm food. But this time the guests were neighbors, old friends, single parents from town, and elderly people with nowhere else to celebrate. Nobody asked who was successful, nobody compared children, nobody earned love conditionally. At the center of the dinner table sat the small white empty box from the previous Thanksgiving. One guest finally asked Noah why it was there. He smiled before answering, because sometimes empty things teach you who truly loves you. Across the table, Olivia looked around the room glowing with warmth, kindness, and second chances. And for the first time in many years, Thanksgiving no longer felt like a performance. It finally felt like home.